Section 5.1, now we're moving to categorical syllogisms. And that's key. We're not dealing just with categorical propositions now. In Section 5.1, Chapter 5 here, syllogisms, these are arguments. So I'm going to talk about what a syllogism is, what the standard form for a syllogism. It's very important you have it in the right order and in the right form, because all the various ways to test syllogisms for validity will not work if you don't have it in standard form. And then we'll talk about mood and figure, okay? So let me define a syllogism here. A general quick definition: it's a deductive argument consisting of two premises and one conclusion, okay? So you have premise 1, premise 2, and here let's get a different color here, we'll go blue. Okay, and then you have a conclusion, okay? And here's a more lengthy definition for a categorical syllogism, okay? There are different kinds of syllogisms, two premises and a conclusion. A categorical syllogism is a syllogism, which is two premises and a conclusion, consisting of three categorical propositions and containing a total of three terms, each of which appears twice in distinct propositions. This type of syllogism is a deductive argument, and it is capable of being translated into standard form, and the standard form we'll talk about, okay? And the standard form requires three categorical propositions, three terms each appearing twice, consistent use of those terms. So the fact that it can be translated into a standard form is a good indication that everything you need is there. Okay, here's an example, okay? Now they call them categorical because, you remember, three categorical propositions. Right here, that's the A proposition. All soldiers are patriots. No traitors are patriots. That's an E. Therefore, no traitors or soldiers. There's another E, so we have two premises right here, right there, one conclusion, but they are three categorical propositions. And notice you have soldiers appearing twice, patriots appearing twice, traitors appearing twice. Okay, there's your three terms, each of which appear twice. It's a deductive argument, okay? Now, these names all have the terms all have special names based on their position in the argument, okay? Now, none of this that I'm going to talk about is hard, but there's a lot of little details that you're going to have to study this a little bit, just to kind of keep track of all these things, okay? Because I'm going to be throwing a lot of simple stuff at you, but if it's a lot, even though it's simple, don't get deceived, you still got to spend some time with these, okay? So the three terms are given special names, okay? Start to here, let's go ahead and erase that there so you can kind of see this a little better here. Okay, there we go. You have something called the major term, and the major term is the predicate of the conclusion. So here's the conclusion right here. That's the conclusion. And the conclusion, let's start there. The predicate term of the conclusion is called the major term, okay? That's the major term is soldiers. The minor term is the subject of the conclusion. So here's the conclusion. Subject is traitors. That's the minor term. The predicate is soldiers. That's the major term. The middle term provides the middle ground between the two premises. The middle term appears in the premises. It does not appear in the conclusion, okay? But it appears once in each premise. So we have traitors and soldiers, minor term, major term. Major because it's the predicate position, minor it's the subject position. Middle term, patriots, is the term that's not in the conclusion, but it appears once in both premises. So obviously the middle term would be patriots. Patriots isn't here in the conclusion, but it appears once in the two premises, okay? So with that said, let's say we're looking at this. I've kind of already talked about it, but the major term would be soldiers, right? The minor term would be traders. And the middle term, it doesn't appear in the conclusion, but it appears once in each premise. It is patriots. Okay, now here's two. This is simple stuff, right? But I'm going to throw some other things at you. The major premise, you guessed it, it's the premise that contains the major term. So if the major term is soldiers, then the major premise will be the premise that contains the major term soldiers. Okay? The minor premise is the one that contains the minor term. The minor term is traders. The minor premise is the one that contains the term traders in it. So this would be the minor premise because it has the minor term in it. Major premise, it has the major term in it. Okay, let's keep going. So simple stuff so far. Now, you remember I was talking about the standard form? Here is the standard form that every categorical syllogism has to be in. I'm positioning the handout this way so you can still see that up there, okay? All three statements are standard form categorical propositions. See, there's an A, E, E. They all got quantifiers. They all got subject terms, predicate terms, and they've all got a copula, right? So you have to have three statements in three categorical propositions for this to qualify as a categorical syllogism. Remember, there's other kinds of syllogisms. This is a categorical one. The two occurrences of each term are identical. Patriots, patriots are the same. Soldiers, soldiers are the same. Traders, traders. No equivocation. You want to make sure that if you have the word, it means the same thing. If there was equivocation, and let's say you had ring, and then you had ring appearing again, but one referred to a wedding ring and a phone ringing, well, then you don't have three terms each appearing twice. You have a third term appearing once and then a fourth term appearing once. So the two occurrences of the term are identical, and this is important. The major term is listed first. The major premise, is listed first. The minor premise is second, and the conclusion last. So whatever the major premise is, it has to be first. Right here, soldiers is the major term. And notice the first premise has soldiers in it, and that is the major premise. And the minor term is traders, so the minor premise is to appear second, and there is the minor premise right there, because it's got that minor premise, and the conclusion appears last. Okay, so that's when you know it's in standard form. Okay, moving along, I want you to look at this and ask yourself, is this in standard form? Okay, so you've got to kind of go through these rules, and you go, okay, this is the minor term. You know, paintings, minor. Masterpieces is the major term. So first of all, watercolors, watercolors. It appears twice. It's not equivocating. Paintings, paintings appears twice, not equivocating. Masterpiece, masterpiece appears twice, not equivocating. If paintings is the minor term and masterpieces are the major term, then watercolors is the middle term, and that has to be appearing once in each of the premises and not in the conclusion. It is. And then let's look here. Okay, the premise, that's the major premise, should be appearing first, and it should have masterpieces in it. So we look at this first premise. It does not have masterpieces in it. It has paintings, and paintings is the minor term, so this is not in standard form because these two premises need to be switched around. Here is the major premise, right? But it is not appearing first, and here's the minor premise. It needs to be appearing second. So we would say this is not in standard form until you switch the premises around. Okay? And you got to be careful in some of your homework exercises, your starred problems for practice, and then the ones I assign. If it says they are in standard form, okay, then you don't have to do anything. They've got the premises and conclusion there, but sometimes it's going to say put into standard form, and if they say put, then you need to identify what is the conclusion and what are the two premises, and you've got to have them in the right order. If you don't, then you know with three terms, each appearing twice, you can rearrange and have those categorical propositions in any combination, and all the things about it appearing twice, not equivocating. You could have what you think is a major premise and a minor premise and then the conclusion. You have to have the right two categorical propositions that are the real premises and the conclusion. And if you have to put it into standard form, you have to look for indicator words. Okay, so you may have to revisit those concepts from chapter 1 where you identify premises and a conclusion. Okay, so you want to be careful about that. If it says they're in standard form, no problem. If it says put in standard form, you have to identify the premises and the correct conclusion. Okay? Now, after a categorical syllogism is in standard form, then its validity or invalidity may be determined. I'm going to show you 3 ways, 1, 2, 3, that you can test if a categorical syllogism is valid. By using mood and figure, by determining the mood and figure of a syllogism, which I'm going to talk about in the next video, and seeing if the mood and figure is on either one of 2 lists. In section 5.1 you'll find those lists. We can also use Venn diagrams, and Venn diagrams for syllogisms is going to use 3 circles. Okay, but don't worry, we're going to go over those, and there will be your middle term, your minor term, your major term, and we will talk about how to do Venn diagrams. But you can do a Venn diagram, and from the diagram you'll be able to tell if a syllogism is valid or not. You'll be able to tell if a syllogism is valid by using mood and figure and by syllogistic rules, and this is in section 5.3, which we'll go over. So I'm going to have videos on these rules. I'm going to have videos showing you how to do Venn diagrams for categorical syllogisms, and I can't say this, don't freak out. I know it's 3 rings, but they're really not that hard. If you know how to do the Venn diagrams for the ordinary A, E, I, and O, and I had a video on that, you're going to be just fine on this, and you're going to find them very interesting. So you have a syllogism in standard form. To determine its validity or invalidity, there are 3 different ways to do it. What I'm going to go over right now is in the next video, part 2 of section 5.1 is mood and figure. So we will stop right here, and part 2 of section 5.1 is going over the test of how we can use mood and figure to determine if a categorical syllogism in standard form is valid or invalid.